Okay, SAG Awards fans, we're just days away from the 2017 SAG Awards. We're going to talk about the TV races. We're going to talk about who we're predicting to win and if there's any maybe upsets that we'll see. I'm here with Amanda Spears, Daniel Montgomery, and Ralph Galvin. And Amanda, I'm going to come to you first because usually the SAG TV ones are kind of easy to predict. You just predict last year's winners. Is that the case this year?
It's not the case this year. Typically, SAG Awards come in twos. That's usually a good pattern. So we'll see someone like Jeffrey Tambor win. But on the drama side, that probably means Kevin Spacey's not going to repeat. No one in that category has ever won 3 consecutively. When you think of the people who've tried it, Dennis Franz, Anthony Edwards, Hugh Laurie, Kiefer Sutherland, Steve Buscemi, Bryan Cranston. And those are some pretty big names. I mean, James Gandolfini won 3, but he never even won 2 in a row. So yes, he is an Oscar winner and that could help. And yes, we saw, Alec Baldwin win 7, but it's probably a year where there's going to be somebody new win.
So if not Kevin Spacey, are you guys going with John Lithgow? He has the best odds right now at Gold Derby.
Yeah, I'm going with John Lithgow. I was going with Kevin Spacey for a while, just going by the default last year's winners. And then I think I was going with Rami Malek, who, as a makeup for last year. He didn't win last year, and then he won the Emmy, and so he wins the SAG Award, I thought. I think that's the same scenario that happened to Jeffrey Tambor last year. But then I got to thinking about John Lithgow. He's a beloved veteran. And the SAG Awards love beloved veterans. I'm thinking like William H. Macy for Shameless, even on shows that they don't necessarily love and they love The Crown, they'll go with the beloved veterans. So yeah, I'm going with him here, but I do still think it's a 3-way race. I honestly, Spacey and Malek still wouldn't surprise me if either of them wins.
And Ralph?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm wearing sunglasses because I had an issue that rendered me an absolute tool, so I have to wear them because of the computer brightness, so forgive that. But I'm wearing Lithgow because he's won twice before at SAG. They seem to really like him. He won on the comedy actor side for Third Rock from the Sun, decade and a half back, I guess. And again, he's new. Like Daniel said, he's respected. They really like that. But like Daniel said, I would not be surprised more so on Kevin Spacey that they reward him, since they kind of love to repeat that. And Kevin Spacey's almost like an Alec Baldwin of the actors or the drama side. So I don't know, but I'm still going to go with Lithgow just because it's been a while since he's been back up at SAG, and now he's in a different side of categories.
And he'll make history as the first person to win on both the comedy and drama side. And he's also already made history because he's been nominated on the movie mini side also. So he's definitely one that they love. I would look out for Sterling K. Brown because when Sean Hayes was nominated for both a movie and for the comedy show, they did give him comedy actor. So he might be, if you want to like play with your points, somebody.
I completely spaced out on Sterling K. Brown that he was nominated here. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see him win. I may actually move him to number 1 because he was the only one to get nominated from This Is Us. It's so popular. It's a network show, so people have actually seen it. That's damn before I forgot he was even in there.
Well, for his chances, if you forgot he was in there.
Well, I forgot as of like earlier today because I remember seeing it. And I was like, oh, I think I'm going to predict Sterling K. Brown because he was also nominated for OJ, and I don't think he's going to win for OJ. But yes, but then John Lithgow is so popular.
It's funny you say that because right now I have him winning for OJ, and we'll talk about that later, but I may be convinced otherwise. Amanda had this good Bryan Cranston theory. But so basically I'm crazy for going with Spacey, and I should listen to all of you and change to John Lithgow. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, John Lithgow is the perfect person who can just come in on their first nomination and win this. He doesn't need a year. He's very respected within the actors branch. If he stays in the supporting race at the Emmys, he'll be the first supporting actor to win drama actor. It's the one SAG category that's never gone to a supporting player before. So wow. He's going to make a lot of history if he wins.
What about TV drama actress? Viola Davis is not here. She won twice in a row, right?
Yes, and they never had a 3-time winner either. So if you don't believe my theory, it happened to a potential Oscar winner. So
Well, she's still going to win a SAG award over on the movie side. I wonder if that went into their thinking, like, oh, we're going to give her the award over here. Let's not even nominate her over here.
That might have happened at the Golden Globes too, because she's so far and away the front runner for Fences at this point that especially the Hollywood Foreign Press, which likes to fill their seats with as many stars as possible. They figure, okay, we're already giving this to her here, maybe like open up some space in the drama actress race. And then, although I think more importantly is the fact that this is such an unusually crowded season. Especially from the summer onward for new shows with the strong female performances, with The Crown, with Westworld, with Stranger Things. So much so that the SAG Awards, which hate new things usually, you were saying the best way to predict the SAG Awards is predict whatever has already won. There is no past winner in this category, and there is only one past nominee, Robin Wright. So
who was in 5th place at Gold Derby.
I have her ranked in 2nd just because she's familiar, and so maybe maybe the SAG Awards will just like her because she's familiar and they like what's familiar, even though she hasn't won for House of Cards yet. So I don't know if that's even going to help her.
It's often not who gives the best performance; it's who they respect the most. Like, remember Helen Mirren winning for Phil Spector? It's like it's because they loved Helen Mirren. It's not because they love Phil Spector.
And that was a topsy-turvy kind of year for that movie actress category where we saw different people win at each award show. So I think one thing to look out for is Millie Bobby Brown, because they do love like breakthrough characters, and 11 is a breakthrough character. I mean, we've seen Chandra Wilson win. We've seen Uzo Aduba. We saw Jessica Lange for the first season of American Horror Story. So if you're playing the big breakout character, sometimes they will gravitate towards that. And yeah, she's up against her more respected Oscar-nominated co-star, but she might be able to pull it off, and she'll be like the youngest winner on the TV side. I don't know on the film side, but
she's already the youngest nominee. I actually have her winning, and like I never even second guessed it. It was just a landslide victory, I think, for Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah. So Screen Actors Guild are weird in that, or different in that it's not about the most respected or anything. It's about the most popular. I mean, we're talking about 22,000 people SAG after, whether it be a newscaster on television or an actor who's been on a Skittles commercial or anything like that. You're talking about people that are just checking what is the most popular, what has had the most impact. The IMDb ratings at this point give a lot away, I think. That's why, Uzo was so popular and won, and has now won twice, and is probably going to win a third time, because it's what really kind of grabs them and they gravitate to. And I think that's a huge reason Millie Bobby Brown was nominated in the first place. And if she's big enough to be nominated and she's the youngest one, I mean, it's so enticing to give them that award, which is also why, jumping ahead, I think Stranger Things is a lock to win ensemble. We'll get to that later. But I don't really see how Millie Bobby Brown, even with Winona there, how she's going to, who upsets her in this category. Definitely won't be the girl from The Crown, Claire Foy.
You say definitely won't be Claire Foy, because that's who a lot of people
who's
are
watched that. Who's watched that show besides Golden Globe voters?
What about Tandy Newton? I mean, she's a past winner. I mean, yes, it's an ensemble, but
she is. But I don't really buy that. Like, many people know who Tandy Newton is unless you either watch Westworld or you remember her from Crash like 80 years ago. I mean, other than that, like, she's given a great performance, and she's been like critically praised throughout the season, or the first season of Westworld and whatnot. But the show never really took off the way HBO wanted it to. It's popular, but it's not too popular. It's very divisive. So I don't know if many people have actually watched the show, and if that's somebody that they would name check over a more popular person that they're aware of, like Millie or Winona.
Okay, earlier you said nobody watched The Crown. It has 3 nominations. It has Best Ensemble, Best Actor, and Best Actress. So obviously they are watching The Crown. They know what The Crown is.
Sure, but SAG Nomcom is completely different than SAG voting. I mean, you're talking about a small branch of people voting on nominees selected, once every 3 years. but versus the mass SAG voters that are going for it.
Well, the challenge of trying to determine this by which show is just clearly the most popular is hard when you have so many Netflix nominees, and Netflix is so cagey and so not transparent about what the ratings even are, how many people are actually watching these, and I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I agree that popularity goes a long way with this body, but a lot of it is, this kind of respectability and that sort of thing. I mean, if it was strictly what's the most popular thing, Game of Thrones would have swept Best Ensemble for the last 3 or 4 years, and it hasn't won that category yet. So there are other factors that do come into play, and it's hard to know exactly what people are watching and how many are watching, especially on Netflix, because they don't actually want they don't want us to know.
Well, there are ways that you can that people track that. I mean, there are tracking companies that do track digital ratings. So as we found out, Orange is the New Black this season was still Netflix's most popular show. It got the most views out of all of their shows. So we do know some of that stuff. And also, I mean, that is true. It is also respected. But then if it wasn't popular, why would you have Alec Baldwin winning 7 times? Why would you have so many people, so many repeat winners? I mean, it's not just because they're lazy. It's because they're popular.
Well, not many people watched 30 Rock. 30 Rock was always kind of a niche show, so that was never like the big blockbuster show.
But who didn't know Alec Baldwin?
He was the Helen Mirren in that category. He was the beloved, veteran. I just don't buy this Millie Bobby Brown thing. I think she's the exact opposite.
And that's great, because we don't want you to. Millie and I, for sure. Hashtag Dixon Curse, do not take Millie Bobby Brown.
Right now I have Tandy Newton, but I may switch to Claire Foy.
No, stick to that.
So as far as ensemble goes, Downton Abbey has won this 3 times, and the record is 4, right, Amanda? ER won 4?
Yes, and even if they get the record, ER still gonna have bragging rights because they did it consecutively. So that's that, and they also won drama series. So,
but Downton Abbey has always been airing in January-ish when SAG members were voting on this category. So the fact that it's been off the air for an entire year, that hurts it.
Yeah, and this is also the first year they don't have an individual acting nomination with their ensemble. I mean, ironically, the only year they won an individual award was the year Breaking Bad won ensemble. But so it's kind of a little questioning because we don't really know how it's going to do when it's not doing press right before and it's not airing. And also, I think that The Crown and Downton Abbey might cancel each other out because they're very similar and they're going to attract the same kind of people to vote for it. The people who are going to vote for Game of Thrones might not be the same group of people who would vote for Downton Abbey or The Crown.
But they would be the same people that would vote for Westworld.
Right.
Which cancels 4 programs out.
There might be overlap there with Stranger Things too, in terms of the
nerd group.
Oh, ouch.
I accept that as proudly as a nerd.
I am a big nerd as well, so I can say that. But I don't know what to do in this one. Like, I had Game of Thrones for a long time, and last week I switched to Downton Abbey because it's the reigning champ, but all those statistics Amanda said makes me think that I'm crazy for going with Downton Abbey.
Well, I'm going with Game of Thrones. It's been kind of the ugly stepchild at the SAG Awards for a while, and it's been winning so many Emmys, and this year especially with Downton Abbey off the air, it's kind of it won 3 times. They don't owe it anything. It feels it's not only yesterday's news. It's like last year's news. It went off the air like 10 months ago. And it could still be Downton. It could still be Downton. But, I remember the one time Alec Baldwin finally lost was the year he was eligible, but his, 30 Rock had ended eons ago. So,
that's a good point.
So I'm gonna take a chance and say that Game of Thrones, the power of that popularity, the power of of the size of that cast, plus Downton Abbey, there's reason to believe that's weaker this year. I'm gonna go with Game of Thrones here.
And not to say these two shows are similar, but except for their youth, like Glee won its first year. Stranger Things has a very young cast. Those kids have been everywhere.
Yeah.
So I would check where you put Stranger Things. I know it's in 4th place, but I think that might be what, yeah. That could actually be the one where they're like, oh, I saw those cute kids rapping on the Golden Globes again. I'm going to check that. So it would be a very young cast, and sometimes being the different one can help.
So Daniel's going with Game of Thrones. Ralph's going with Stranger Things. Amanda, you're going with?
Right now I'm going with Game of Thrones, but I'm thinking of moving Stranger Things into 2nd place.
And I think I still am Downton Abbey, but I may switch because for all the reasons you guys said.
Marcus is going to tell me if everybody repeats.
The stunt award is probably Game of Thrones again, right? That's been undefeated here.
Yeah, that's, the Game of Thrones stunt people are the Alec Baldwin of stunt people. I can't see them losing, or at least not this, there's nothing in this category that I think would just be naturally to take them down. The Walking Dead has had chances, it hasn't managed it yet. Westworld is the kind of the hot new show, but it's I don't know. You think about the stunts on Westworld and compare it to something like Battle of the Bastards. I don't think that's kind of a comparison.
Yeah, I think they employ like every stunt person internationally, so that's going to help them. But they're probably going to break the Alec Baldwin record.
And then let us move over to comedy, unless you guys have anything else to say about the drama ones. Comedy ensemble, Orange is the New Black. Ralph just said it's one of the most watched shows on Netflix, if not the most watched show. And it's won, what, twice?
3 times.
It's won three.
Twice. 2 in a row.
2 in a row? I thought it won 3.
No, it's going for number 3.
Veep has never won, but it's won the Emmy now twice in a row. So they definitely owe Veep this prize.
True, but they don't care that they. And I'm currently predicting Veep. I have Orange is the New Black in 2nd place. I might move Orange is the New Black back up to 1st. It's the largest cast. Size always matters at the SAG Awards, and I don't think they care that they owe Veep as much. Or at least enough for it to matter. Just because, we talked about Alec Baldwin, and think of all the people who lost Best Comedy Actor for 7 years, who never cared about at all to kind of spread the wealth there. So I don't know. I might be talking myself into Orange is the New Black now in this category again.
It seems like it's obviously the safest bet because the other 4 have never won.
Let me just throw a little at that. Do you think it's in the same league as Seinfeld and Modern Family? Because those are the only shows that have won more than 2.
Right. I take back what I just said. Modern Family won. Sorry.
Yeah. Those are the only shows that have won more than 2. We've seen a lot of shows just win 2. The Office won 2. Desperate Housewives won 2. Sex and the City didn't do it consecutively. I don't know if a show that fell off at the Emmys is going to possibly stay current.
But what happens when you deduct what shows aren't going to win? I mean, that Modern Family is not going to win again. Right. Veep hasn't won yet, and they haven't awarded a cable show since like 2003 when Sex and the City won. I mean, it's all been network, Modern Family, 30 Rock, and whatnot. You have a large ensemble, female-led ensemble, minority cast, still really popular, which had its. I mean, if you watch this season of Orange is the New Black, it's the best season they've had in probably ever. I mean, it was a great season. So the one year they do deserve to win is probably this year. I just don't know. The only other show I could see beating it is Blackish.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if it's, I got Veep right now, but I'm thinking maybe switching to Blackish.
Yeah, I think those 3 are, I think we can probably all agree that we can probably rule out Modern Family and The Big Bang Theory, which just leaves 3. Yeah, I don't know if I would say in the same league in terms of, how history will view these shows in terms of, classic status. But the size of the Orange is the New Black cast and the uniqueness of that show in how it gives so much focus to individual members of that cast, plus a large number of group scenes. And I think a lot of shows and movies that have lots of group interaction, that emphasize basically the ensembleness of the show. They definitely helped a lot. That's why I get like road movies like Sideways and Little Miss Sunshine winning on the film side, even with smaller casts, because they're all acting together for the whole time. And you can't really get more grouped together than Prison. And so I'm moving it back up now.
I think I'm convinced now. And then,
Wait, you're going for an ensemble?
Me?
Yeah, Orange.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been drama or comedy a cast as large as Orange is the New Black.
Right. I interviewed the casting director. She said they're bigger than Game of Thrones as far as cast members. And look at the ratings. Veep is by far of these 5 the lowest rated of these 5. I mean, I know Orange is a question mark because we don't officially know, but Blackish, Modern, Big Bang, those are all very highly rated shows.
We can be fairly sure Orange is the New Black gets more viewers than Veep.
Oh yeah, Veep is very, very low. It may be the lowest rated show, nominated for drama too. So that also hurts it because, I mean, like Ralph said, this is a popular vote. And have these people even watched it, or are they just voting for it because they're supposed to?
Well, they don't have to vote for things at the the SAG Awards. They vote for who they like, regardless of what they're in. I don't think the people who voted for, like as I mentioned earlier, William H. Macy for Shameless a couple of years ago. I don't think they were really voting for that because they're huge fans of Shameless. I think they see a name like William H. Macy, this respected veteran character actor who they like and respect, and they're like, oh, check. Which definitely that kind of thing helped Alec Baldwin every year. It helps people they like. And
it's going to help Jeffrey Tambor again, right?
Oh yeah, he's going to win again. There's no one really there to challenge him.
Really, you think so, Jeffrey Tambor?
Anthony Anderson, I'd say, isn't within striking distance, but
that's who I'm going with. Is Anthony Anderson. I mean, Blackish was nominated this year. Anthony Anderson had that one right before voting. Wait, did voting close or is voting still open? I don't remember. But anyway, what was it, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, he had that whole Blackish episode dedicated to the election, where he had that that kind of monologue that went viral. I mean, he's popular. He's he hasn't won before. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just don't know if Jeffrey Tambor and Transparent have the popularity they did when it first happened, when he first came about. I mean, he wasn't nominated the first year of the show. They brought him back because they owed him the second year, and now it doesn't seem like they owe him again. I mean, look at Julia Louis-Dreyfus. They gave her a SAG the first year of Veep, for the first time she was nominated for Veep, and then never again. So it's not like they really need to keep giving you just because you're a respected actor. And I don't know if he's that. That's why I'm going with the Anthony Anderson upset, just to shake things up, because then it gets boring.
Yeah, I like that. After Alec Baldwin won this 7 years in a row, have we had a new winner each year? I mean, Ty Burrell won, William H. Macy won, Jeffrey Tambor won. So it's kind of like they're done with the sweeps in this category.
Well, usually, again, these are things that typically, as far as SAG Awards, they typically come in twos. So I think Jeffrey Tambor's just popular enough to pull this off one more time, whether the show isn't.
And these things sometimes are cyclical. I mean, just looking at the Emmys, we saw, what was that, 10 or 15 years of a new comedy actress winner every year. And what has just happened over the last 5? We've gotten we've gotten Julia Louis-Dreyfus back in the sweep mode. And maybe once she's done, it'll be another new winner every year kind of thing for a while. So just because we've had a new winner every year, I don't think that hurts Tambor here this year.
But what hurts him is his show is snubbed this year.
That is true.
Just like Kevin Spacey, House of Cards is snubbed, which I think that's important. Comedy actress, Uzo Aduba again. Ralph, you're the expert.
I'm going with Uzo again.
Why?
Because she's Uzo Aduba. I cannot go against Uzo Aduba. You already know this. But also, I don't know who else would win in that category that is, that kind of has the role that she has. And that has the popularity she has. As we've learned from, as Amanda said, you know, things may come in two, but we learned from supporting characters like Megan Mullally and Sean Hayes that when they love you in that kind of a role, they're going to keep on loving you and give you 3 SAGs or maybe even more. And she just seems like one of those actresses that could pull off at least a 3-peat. 3 in a row is pretty incredible. But Julia Louis-Dreyfus, again, I mean, like I said, they gave her 1 at the beginning and they didn't decide to give it to her over and over again like the Emmys did. So other than that, I don't really see anybody else in that category that can pull it off.
Lily Tomlin, Life Achievement Award.
Yeah, but you've got Jane Fonda in the same category. I mean, the 6 people that watch Grace and Frankie are just going to split the votes 3 and 3. So I don't know if that's going to work.
Well, okay, that's another issue where they don't have to watch the show. I don't think either of them is going to win, but you know, it's the kind of, I remember like if there were 6 people watching Grace and Frankie, there were 4 people watching Hot in Cleveland. They didn't vote for Betty White for Hot in Cleveland because they loved Hot. So I
guarantee you more Hot in Cleveland voters than than Grace and Frankie voters.
I think what hurts Lily Tomlin more is the fact that she's already getting on stage and winning a Lifetime Achievement Award, and she's going to get to give what I'm sure is going to be a great speech. I don't think there's going to be a lot of urgency to reward her here when she's already winning there. And so, so I have her ranked 3rd, and I have Jane Fonda ranked 4th. You know, normally they'd be that kind of, one or the other would be that kind of beloved veteran who they just check even if they don't watch or care about the show. I'm predicting Julia tentatively. I do have Uzo ranked 2nd, very, very close 2nd. It's hard to know for me which way this one will go.
And by the way, at Gold Derby, our odds that combine the experts and the editors and users and everything, Julia has 980 votes. Jane Fonda in 5th place has 9 votes. So Ralph, you're wrong. It's not 6 people. It's 9 people watching the show. Yeah.
And just to give a little history of the category, because that seems to be my role here tonight. Only 2 people have won 3 in a row, and that's Megan Mullally and Tina Fey. And they were nominated for Emmys each year. So the fact that Uzo Aduba was snubbed might be a little telling that they're going to move on. It's one of those things where you have to ask yourself, if you're going to make this prediction, do they hold her in the same high acclaim as they hold someone like Tina Fey and Megan Mullally from Will and Grace? And remember, they kind of owe Julia, because the Golden Globes hate her and the Emmys love her, but the SAG Awards are kind of like, yeah, we take you out once in a while, but you know, we're not really your best, we're not your favorites, because she's only won 3. I mean, you think about how many, every show she's been on has been eligible for a SAG Award. She's got 2 for Seinfeld and 1 for Veep. They might want to kind of even the scales just a little bit now that she's reached this high pinnacle of winning 5 Emmys.
She also gives the best speeches.
Yes.
I mean, I love Uzo, but I'm kind of getting used to, you know, her holding it and being like, oh my gosh, thank you. We've kind of seen it, Uzo.
And that heartbreaking speech that Julia gave at the Emmys, on top of that, I really feel, I don't know how many people are going to remember that, but I mean, I still do. And I can imagine that holding sway over some voters who want to give her that hug this year.
And just one thing more, these 5 women are very lucky that Kate McKinnon is not eligible to compete, because this would have been an open and shut case, because they classify Saturday Night Live as a late night program instead of a sketch show like they do Key and Peele and Amy Schumer. So if you're wondering why Kate McKinnon isn't nominated, that's why. So they're all, so all these 5 women are very much like.
And just to push back a bit, history buff, on your Emmy thing with Megan Mullally, Uzo never had to, or none of them besides Uzo had to deal with switching categories.
That didn't stop her from getting in.
Going from comedy to drama. And she won both of those. And
but she couldn't stay in there.
Yeah, because she was in a much more competitive category. If she'd stuck comedy, I think she probably would have stayed in. And
if Maisie Williams can get a nomination, it is not a competitive category.
Yeah, they put 3 Game of Thrones actresses in there. Come on, you're telling me she...
Throwing serious shade at Maisie Williams.
I love me. Look, I had an Emmy MVP, Emmy Spotlight item on Maisie Williams a couple years ago. She's absolutely fantastic. But is she as good as Uzo Aduba? Ralph, you can answer that question.
No, but she's in the most popular show at the Emmys, which set a record for nominations. Uzo
Okay,
was
not last year. Uzo Aduba was in a very popular show its first year, and then they moved it, and she got back in, and she was the
she won.
reigning champ. Couldn't stay. She couldn't stay in the category as the reigning champ.
A lot
should have stayed.
I don't think that has
They might just
anything
be
to
done
do.
with crazy
But what
guys.
does that have to do with SAG voters?
It has to do with it because they've never
Because
awarded
Megan
someone.
Mullally?
Megan Mullally got
Uzo-
nominated for an Emmy every
year of the show. And Deborah Messing didn't, and Eric McCormack didn't. For the two
Uzo
sports.
should have made it in. Her show was airing during
I don't know.
voting.
I mean, if you watch the
It
show,
should've.
just like Homeland, if you watch the show and it has a bad season, which it did, I don't think it deserves to get in. I think she'll get back in this year because the show had an incredible season, kind of like Homeland when they kicked it out, or Juliana Margulies when they kick her out and they bring her back in when she has.
they have 4
really
open
good
spots
season.
this year. So if she can't get in now, then there's real big problems.
She's got competition with This Is Us and with Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's tough when at least at the Emmys, quality notwithstanding, if you start to wane, even if you have another great season, it's hard to come back. The only reason Homeland even came back was because they expanded it to that 7th slot. So the fact that Orange is the New Black dropped off so much, I am kind of worried that, there are going to be a lot of open slots. That's helpful, but not to get too far off course talking,
Yeah. The Emmys, I totally agree with you on that. Emmys, I totally agree.
That's the problem. As I made Ralph mad because I made
No. I just don't see the connection, the correlation between Emmy voters and Screen Actors Guild voters. One branch is 22,000, the other branch is about 3.
They're both industry awards, and they're both going to have overlap in terms of
So are the Golden Globes.
No, the Golden Globes are given out by 84
Foreign press, but that's still an industry award.
But it's not the same. It's not industry peers. It's not a peer group award.
Right.
It's for the same reason that we look at the correlation between the SAG Awards and the Oscars, which are peer to peer. That's what we're looking at with SAG and Emmys, and it's especially relevant now since the Emmys changed their voting system to reflect more of a popular vote.
Right.
So I do think it does. You can look at one as maybe slightly reflective of the other, though not as much as with film.
Right.
Oh, I don't know what to do
made
now.
him
I'm so
mad.
confused.
You made him mad because he loves these.
I think I'm just going to put Julia.
I don't see the sense in it. That's all.
Okay,
I'm
so
just
Uzo's
reading
losing.
the numbers.
Let's go to the
That's all.
next.
Come on.
The Riley Chow stat, I don't understand it.
So are you gonna put your 100-point bet, or no? I guess it's 500-point bet on Uzo.
I don't know, because remember you and I were like after the nominations were announced, we were texting back and forth, and I was like, I don't know, I think Julia will probably win this year, but like the more time has gone by and the more voters I've actually like spoken to that I know that are just going with Uzo because they gave her the award last year. I'm just going back with Uzo. I mean, why if it ain't broke yet, don't mess it up, right? I mean, and also she's, not that this will maybe have much to play with it, but she's African American. She's the one that stands out in the whole category.
Right. So TV, movie, mini series categories. There's only 2. They don't do an ensemble, which is really, really silly. I think they should. Let's start with the movie actor one, because Amanda, you had a really great point about Bryan Cranston and how if there's vote splitting with the other 4 guys, he could come out on top.
Yeah, I think the problem for both Sterling K. Brown and Courtney B. Vance, and then John Turturro and Riz Ahmed is, who do you pick? Because you could say Riz Ahmed, I could say John Turturro. It's the same thing with Sterling K. Brown and Courtney B. Vance. One isn't more elevated than the other. And also, one isn't like Al Pacino when he won for Angels in America and was up against 3 of his co-stars. He's Al freaking Pacino. He's never won a SAG award. This is easy. And then you have Bryan Cranston, whom they love. So for me, it's just like, show up for this one. It's going to be a better night for you than the last couple.
I think Sterling K. Brown has a good shot, though. And if it's if there is vote splitting, I don't know if it will happen with these two OJ guys, because they love Sterling so much. They put a supporting performance in lead, in I guess you can call it a lead category. They did that twice. They did that Hero Movie mini, and they did that for drama. They love him that much that I don't know if there will be vote splitting there for the OJ guys, but I could see the Night Of guys kind of splitting the vote.
Well, I think with the Sterling K. Brown, if he's going to win, I think the drama actor race is actually a better situation for him. Just because I don't want to say it's less competitive, but if you really love him and maybe you love Riz Ahmed or maybe you love one of the other nominees, you might still just check his name off. We saw that with Sean Hayes when he was in the same situation. He was the only one who's ever won one out of the two. The women who've been nominated twice have never won. So I think if he's going to win, it's probably going to be for This Is Us.
Yeah,
Brian, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, this is one of those cases where I'm predicting Courtney B. Vance. I could be convinced to switch to Bryan Cranston just because they like him. And, you know, again, they don't need to have seen what he's in to vote for him in it, you know, because they like him. But at the same time, something like The People versus O.J. Simpson, it feels like the kind of project potentially where even if they split the vote, one of them could still win because of just how overwhelmingly popular this thing has been, you know, throughout the award season in terms of, you know, in terms of its popularity, its viewership, its buzz. I mean, it's been, you know, it aired last spring and it still has the buzz. You know, and Sterling K. Brown is the kind of, you know, working, you know, character actor who sometimes they like, and you know, and not Sterling K. Brown, Courtney B. Vance is the kind of, you know, veteran actor they sometimes like in this category, and it's tough. I'm torn between Vance and Cranston.
One other thing to keep in mind is that only 3 limited series or movies have ever swept both of the categories, because there's only 2. And not to like throw shade at The People versus O.J. Simpson, because I love it. But this would be the first time where one of them was not either an Oscar winner or a past Oscar nominee, because we had Elizabeth with Jeremy Irons and Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren was on her way to an Oscar. Jeremy Irons already won. Meryl Streep and Al Pacino, Paul Giamatti and Laura Linney. So when they sweep, it's usually because they are the most famous people in the cast, famous people in the category. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Sterling K. Brown or Courtney B. Vance. But I think we might see a little split here where they go with Bryan Cranston, whom they love. They nominated Trumbo for Ensemble probably because they loved him.
Wow, that's a great point.
So I mean, they really started the momentum going for Bryan Cranston when he got those Trumbo nominations. He's the only Oscar nominee in the group. He's got more Emmys than most of us can count. He's been nominated, I mean, for Malcolm in the Middle on the ensemble side. And remember, the first time he won, yeah, and the first time he won, no one was expecting him to win on the drama side. They thought it would be Damian Lewis or Steve Buscemi would return as the 3-time winner. So he's already pulled off an upset when no one was expecting it. So he's one to look out for. He's very beloved on both the film and the TV side. So he might be the perfect person to come in here and win this.
That's true.
That is very true. But I'm with Daniel. I think Courtney B. Vance has this. O.J. Simpson, I mean, to those statistic credits, that's great. But O.J. Simpson was like a phenomenon. Like it's a show that everybody was talking about. It was the most popular TV miniseries, I think. I mean, who knows in how long you've had, since like Angels in America, maybe, that people have actually been like water cooler talking about the show over and over. Like Daniel said, Courtney B. Vance is a respected actor that's been around, that's worked with everybody. He's married to Angela Bassett. I mean, everybody knows who he is. Sterling K. Brown, I think he's great, but I agree with Amanda that I think This Is Us, he has more of a chance on the drama actor side, because if you're going to go here, why aren't you going to go, well, let me vote for Courtney here and vote for Sterling over here if I'm going to vote, you know, for him either way. Bryan Cranston could sneak up, but I don't know if if All the Way was strong enough, or if enough people liked it as much as they liked OJ. And I mean, and also OJ, you had the ESPN special documentary that's probably going to get nominated tomorrow for an Oscar. You know, I think there's a lot working for Courtney V. Vance in his favor at the SAGs. And if you're going to give it to Marcia Clark, you got to give it to Johnny Cochran.
Clark. I mean, we've seen these years before where they've given different awards to each person. Mark Ruffalo won the SAG. The Golden Globe went to Billy Bob Thornton. The Emmy went to Benedict Cumberbatch. I think we're kind of in one of those years where there's not a clear winner. And I think he kind of Bryan Cranston kind of just fits the person who would win the SAG award. I mean, we saw the same thing with Helen Mirren. That was another year where we saw Laura Linney win. We saw Elizabeth Moss win the Golden Globe. And the SAG award, they defaulted to the most famous person and the respected person in the category.
Right. Of these five, Bryan Cranston is by far the most famous. I mean, it's like the grandma rule. Tell your grandma these five names. Which one does she know? She knows Bryan Cranston. She doesn't know some of these other guys. But then again, you know, is Sterling the new Uzo? How she just popped out of nowhere from obscurity to win the SAG award. Is that kind of what Sterling's trajectory is?
No,
I mean,
you want him to be the new Uzo, but he is not the new Uzo.
He's better than Uzo. He has 2 nominations.
She has 2 awards.
Well, we'll see. Give him a couple more years. So Sarah Paulson, done deal. Yeah.
If anybody else wins, this is going to be the one that we're wanting to see the vote total on. Like, how did that happen?
Right. Felicity Huffman has 1 vote. Sarah Paulson has 1,190. So
I was looking at an Entertainment Weekly poll today, and they were like, vote on who you think's going to win SAG. And what's her face? Kerry Washington was winning by a landslide.
Wow.
Well, that's the scandal.
I know. I mean, I thought it was funny. That's why I pointed out. It's just hilarious.
That's why I have her in second, is because they're airing promos for Scandal right now. And who knows if they get, you know, the association in the brain makes people vote that way.
Right.
But I don't think it really matters who you have in second or who you have in fifth. Like, come on.
I wanted to win more for you, Marcus, so that you can get that picture with her and have a picture with all of the awards that she has, the whole sweep.
I have a photo with her and her Globe, her and her Emmy, and then I have a photo of her with the Critics' Choice, but it was for Freak Show, so I don't know if that counts.
That's okay.
But Riley Chow has done a lot of research, and he said only 5 people have won the 5 awards: the Emmy, Globe, SAG, Critics' Choice, and TCA. I'm sorry, only 4 people have won those. Sarah would be the 5th, but the first person for a limited series.
Probably the first woman, too. I'm trying to think who else has done
Tina Fey and Juliana Margulies. I forgot the others. He'll have the article, you know, in a few days.
Can she submit any of these for the Grammys or the Tonys and just get the EGOT while she's at it? Just like take care of all of them at one time.
She's going to Helen Mirren this, and she's now got her character to play. Like, she's going to take it to Broadway next.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, she needs to host SNL next. I think that's the next goal for Sarah Paulson. Okay, any final thoughts on any SAG TV category?
Well, just, you know, to closing thought, how terrible Uzo Aduba is at everything. You know? She can't do anything right. She's so untalented. So that'll be the final word of this.
No, we love Uzo. We're just kind of making fun of Ralph here.
As always.
Yes. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will see you in a few days to talk about the SAG winners.